We hear things. What makes you successful?
Willpower.
Willpower, very good. Give them both a big round of applause. Good job. So thank God for the coming generations. Up until today, typically when a woman is asked what makes her successful, what would she say?
I would say somebody else would help me.
Yeah. They would say, so lucky. I was so lucky. I tell you, I had very good in-laws. You know, they let me be. I had a lot of help. I had a lot of support. You know, just by default, good karma, good karma, good karma. Guys, what makes you successful? Sorry? What makes you successful? Career? What makes you successful? Look at his face. Look at his body. He's like, yeah, because I got it. What makes you successful?
Well, career, family,
Yeah.
success to me is holistic.
Holistic, very good. And we have new age men too. Thank God for that. Very good. So what happens is that a lot of times when we look at women, we'll say, yeah, she had a lot of support. I think that's why she got that. And for guys, we say he just had a lot of aggression and a lot of will. And unfortunately, whenever we look at it in terms of performance evaluation, we would associate it likewise. The man would be would have his success attributed to himself, and the woman would have it in terms of a communal space. And oftentimes I say that as well. I couldn't do this without my husband. I often say that. And then they say, stop saying that. But I still feel inclined to saying that. It's funny. Last one. So we also have the last one called performance evaluation bias, which we talked about earlier on as well. So these are some of the biases to look up on. There's a lot of research. We can go on for days taking out the research. But regardless of what research it is, all the advantage still seems to point, at least small amount of it, pointing towards advantage towards men. Okay? So these are some of the things that you can do. So these are some of the studies that have been done. These are just a small drop in the ocean. One of the things is internal comms awareness. So I think we work quite closely with some companies to do a lot of media campaigns. And I think what works best is social experiments. So we do a lot of interesting social experiments that really, really helps to open up people's eyes based on stories that they normally go through as well. We also have clear performance evaluation criteria from the onset. It was a very interesting study done about a police chief who was being hired. So they were hiring for a police chief. And it's very interesting. Same resume, exact same resume. One person would be doing better in academic, one person would be doing better in experience. Whenever it is a male, they would justify and say we chose the male because he's got more experience. If we switched it around and the male had more academic, they would say we'd still choose the man because he's got more academic experience. Interesting. Then we told them, can you make up your mind? Which one is it? Academic experience. It was only when we became very clear that this is what we are looking out for that they then chose the one. Typically, okay? So clarity. Gender bias reminders on performance appraisal. Say, for example, you'd highlight, remember that blah, 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 and remember blah, blah, blah before you make any statements. So make sure they're all constructive as well. Nomination of both men and women for succession planning. Please always try and nominate at least one or two token women over there. Structured competency-based interviews are known to be the most disruptive in terms of biases, whether it's race, gender, religion, age, so on and so forth. Creating clear rating scales as well. And lastly, inter-rater reliability. So somewhat of a American Idol concept where you have different people of different diversity backgrounds on the group or panel, yeah? Okay, so number 4, this is reasonably interesting as well. I think it is by default that, and it's very interesting, the girl who I said the girl who I mentioned earlier on was very empowered and said it would make no difference whether I was male or female. She's got a kid, and after she went for the test, I said, you do have a bias. And she said, yeah, it is without a doubt that women are obviously the essence of the growth of a child. Without a doubt that women are the essence. So I said, you're the most empowered person that I know. She really is. She's fought all kinds of things and she's there. And she's still saying that. So I don't know whether it's true, I don't know whether it's not true. But regardless, if women have to go through this significantly, then I think we really owe it to them to, and their husbands as well, to come up with interesting options for them to ease into the transition of having a child or second child or third child, and coming back to the workforce stronger than ever. So these are some of it, okay? Number one, flexible work arrangements. How many of you have flexible work arrangements in your companies? How many of you still no chance in hell? Interesting, okay, next. Baby bundle packs. So baby is born, you already kind of help the mom to, negotiate certain things and come up with a nice baby bundle pack. Anyone's got that? Yeah, oh nice, very nice, okay. Maternity and paternity leave, because the only way to get both on board is by having, anyone over here has paternity leave? And please don't tell me 2 days. 5 days, 5 days. So you created a child, you gave birth to a human being, and you get 5 days off. And if somebody dies, you get 3 days off. How does that work? How does that work? I think there should be a huge disruption in it, and that's the only way going forward. Women and men both should be entitled to having maternity and paternity leave for the same amount of time. If you really are showing that you are equal, then do it in both. And I'm telling you, guys these days are really wonderful with kids. And it's a missed opportunity because they're that wonderful. Imagine how much the child is losing out on that. Well, I'm not saying men these days only, men those days too. My dad was amazing. He really was, but I think he was better in the work, in the space as well. Extra hands, so Google's got something called concierge service. So if you're finding it difficult to pick up things or have errands and your husband's out of town or whatever it is, you really need some help, they'll Uber for you. So they help to Uber for you, they'll just help you out. Just that feeling that you've been helped. They have in-house childcare. Anyone over here has got in-house childcare? Put up your hands. Excellent. And the rest of us have to rely on untrusted baby cares. People that you don't trust at all, people that you read about in the newspapers all the time that they could be brutally doing funny things to your kid. Coming back home with hand, foot, and mouth diseases as well. So in-house childcare is critical, I think. I think it's really critical, and I think there should be rotation. I think the child should go to the dad's office as well. Nursing rooms? How many of you don't have nursing rooms yet? Shame on you. Even Ashton Kutcher said there should be nursing rooms for men too. Yeah, you should bring the child there so they can feed them nicely, wash their nappies, because it's not only the woman's job. Some of you say, huh? Why? So that's bias right there. Adoption assistance with more and more women at the top, more and more women stressed out, real major issues with regards to fertility, and a lot of them want to move towards adoption, but they fear for their lives about what society is going to say, so a lot of assistance with that. Fertility assistance as well. Fertility, the last one is going to really make you excited, yeah? Well, in an interesting manner. No cost family career transitioning coaching. So at no cost, you'll get somebody there to help you out, help you transition. My mom would laugh at all this. She'd say, what lah? What do you all need all this? You just have baby, then you go. What? Coaching all, eh? Breastfeeding, counseling, and support as well. I think a lot of women, when they're stressed out, it's very difficult to breastfeed. They, then after that, they feel very, they have this drop in self-esteem when other women, especially other women, ask them, so still breastfeeding? No milk coming out. And I think they need a bit of counseling and a bit of support to make them feel just as much of a woman as well. Global, local, one-on-one mentoring. For I don't know whether it's going to come out later, but let me think about that. Global, local, one-on-one mentoring, women's networking, mothers club, maternity returners club, single women's club. Because a lot of women at the top, either they would say that they had never had any time, or they were so powerful that their husbands couldn't take it, and they want to have a bit more fun again. So singles club, wellness programs, reimbursement of daycare. So just repackage the entire benefit to a woman who's giving birth. And please, when a woman's coming to your company and she's already 50 and not interested to have a kid, please do not tell her that this is a benefit. Express ship baby milk. So for women who travel, the company says that you probably still want to continue to breastfeed, we're going to give you express shipping for free. Amazing, right? And the last one, cryopreservation perks for women who want to preserve their eggs. And I think they should do it for men as well, those who want to procreate for the end of time. Till the end of time, I mean. Okay? I saw some of you wanting to take pictures, go for it. But more importantly, I think it is to pay attention to the women and the men and ask them what would make, when you give somebody a present, you give them what they want, not what you want, yeah? So one of the things that you could do is very good. So hashtag amazing slide, and you probably stand a chance for something as well. Cool. Next. Lastly, I love the women here who say that there is no difference between a man and a woman. I love it. And I think every single woman should walk away and say that really, knowing that my story is in the form of a female's perspective, I need to be very prepared about everything and use all the power from within to figure this out. Some people will say, Hazel, you're very privileged, so shut up. But I can safely say that there are women who have, especially women who are underprivileged, have been able to do it. Especially women who have been underprivileged, whose husbands may not be providing or whose husbands may have left them, they're completely capable of doing it. And I'll tell you the power of a woman. Tell you the power of a human being. So there's a lady, she got married, she moved to Singapore, she got married, and she lived that life of, I'm gonna have to pay, I'm gonna get married and then have a kid, and then I figure out my career again after that. Very difficult to get a job, very difficult for people to hire her. Had 2 babies, husband cheated on her, kicked her out of the house. Suddenly she was able to find a job. Suddenly she was able to get money to fight the husband in court to win the babies back. Suddenly she was able to be a mom who could go to work and still find somebody in a foreign country to look after the kids. And when I asked her the question, are you truly happy today? Never have I been happier. I finally know my worth. And I'm not saying all women need to do this, but I think men are pressured for financial independence in a way that women have yet to really embrace. And I think you'll really know this the moment that shit happens. Which I would not will on anybody, but it will, when it happens, you would say, what did I do in my life? Why did I not make sure that I took care of my finances? Why did I not do that? Okay? So Project Infinite would be a project where women and men as well, but more women, are exposed to the infinite powers that they have by mere default of exposure. Listening to more and more stories will make any woman realize that if there's one woman who did it, I can hopefully find a way too. I'm not saying all women need to do this, yeah? Everybody has choices, but exposure helps. Number 1, exposure to female leaders. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get you to guess which one you think is the most valuable, okay? Mentoring from leaders, so mentoring from either male or female, public exposure, coming to conferences like this, for example, book clubs and circles, high impact workshops, women accelerator programs. Can I ask you, what is the thing that eventually makes a woman from deciding that she's not going to come back to work or deciding that she doesn't need to be so ambitious, but after being exposed to this, she decided differently, radically differently? What do you think is the one thing that is most important?
Female leaders.
Exposure to female leaders. And female leaders at the highest level. We don't have enough of that. So the women at the top, we need to find them, and we need to get them to feel a lot more committed for it. And I will just tell you personally, the one thing that really changed my life from preparing. I don't have any kids, but the moment I got married, I was already preparing for kids. Like, what's going to happen to my career when I have kids? Please don't look at me differently. It's just cultural perspective. And after reading this book, and so you're going to meet my friend later on, Abir is here, Abir is not here, but you're going to meet my friend later on as well. I'm not selling this book. I'm not an ambassador for, well, I don't work for her, but this book really changed my life. After reading this book, 2 weeks later, instead of pulling back in my career, I set up my own company. 2 years later, when we had another business idea, instead of pulling back, we set up the second company. And now when people say, what are you going to do when you have a kid? I'll say, I will figure it out with my husband. And my husband's like, yeah, don't worry, man. Babe, if you want to go, just go all the way, man. I'm very happy looking after the kids as well. But he doesn't mean it. He doesn't mean it. He just wants to sound very cool. He doesn't really mean it. But I would be okay. I would be okay to do it. And I think guys have a very different approach these days with regards to women progressing as well. I just spoke to a cousin yesterday who looked like he had a fatigue. And I asked him, I said, what if your wife made more money?